hyped, start cheering for the person that you want to win, and hopefully we will have an exciting and close match between these two fantastic runners.
Yeah, but it looks like we're off as well.
All right, the ever-important first chest in Link's house is about to be discovered, and we see that it is just a piece of heart.
All right, and we'll make our way to Uncle, and we'll see what kind of weapon he has for us.
Yes, and the interesting thing about this is the first item really has a lot of bearing on how fast the escape sequence tends to be. An item like bombs, which is possible, definitely slows down this entire section of the game. And there you go, your wish has been fulfilled.
All right, we got the cane of Samaria.
You can see Buane chucking that cane. Picks up a bomb for his trouble, and so does Synack. So this is excellent for them. A bomb early on is going to give them access to the back of escape area, which is always comfortable for the runner. The worst thing in the world is when you don't get that bomb and you feel like you have to go back and check those 3 chests.
Yeah, and the worst part about it, you're always going to think when you're running through it yourself and you're racing that your opponent got the bomb. So it's going to be that much harder because you're going to think if there's something in there, my opponent's already ahead of me and I have to find my way back there now.
Absolutely. So we've already picked up the cane. My next question will be, are we going to see something heavily progressive value, of high progression value here in this initial part of the run?
In the escape, I'm not sure. There's a good likelihood that there's something here because there is 6 items they have to find in here, one way or the other, especially with the bombs. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Synack makes quick work of that first blue guard, and Buane throws a pot at a couple on the way out. Just showing off the aggression.
Nobody likes these guards. They're evil.
They're just always annoying. So many bombs. Have you noticed there's been 3 or 4 single bomb drops for both of these runners, and we get literacy out of the book, out of this box.
Be interesting to see if one of the runners gambles on desert if they don't find boots or a light source, especially if it's a pendant.
Yeah, it does sort of speak to a potential item signal in that dungeon, but sometimes as well, Rando can just give you something because it's got to put an item in that chest.
Yep, just baits you into going there. It's like, hey, here, have a single green rupee.
So Buane's taking several cane shots there to the ball and chain guard. Gets a 10 bomb item from Zelda. Again, the bombs are just everywhere today.
Yeah, so we didn't even need the bomb drops to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Synack instead chooses to use the more traditional 2 pots to that guy's face and he's down. Turns out, I didn't know this, but turns out that seems to be a little bit faster than using the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, it was, and I guess the interesting thing to note is why didn't Zelda just break out of the cell herself with 10 bombs in a chest?
Exactly. Perhaps she's just not a good lockpick. She couldn't get in there. Perhaps it's a secret skill that Link has.
That could be.
All right, so we're loaded for bear at this point. We've got all of the items we need. The 10 bomb find actually in the Zelda chest is going to indicate that for our runners that they don't need to worry about being conservative with their bombs through the Kakariko check. They're not going to have to save up 50 rupees to purchase bombs. They're going to be able to explore the entire village, get all of those items, and have some bombs to spare for later on.
Yeah, and that helps save money, especially if it looks like they may need to check Zora early.
I'm not sure exactly, but Synack has managed to pick up an extra 20 rupees on Buane, so that can actually have some bearing. You never know if it might mean that he's going to be able to have an easier time getting that bottle vendor check early on, and perhaps later translate into a few rupees that he might need for the Zora area.
Yeah, or even if it's a light rupee seed, but possibly the entrance in the pod as well.
Oh, yeah, as a runner, you have to feel that you're going to get the money you need at the time. There, Buane picks up another big 20 on the way out of those ropes there, just to even things up.
All right, we get the map there, so every other item or chest in here is going to be some kind of item.
Oh yeah, it's exciting they haven't even gotten to the back of escape yet, so that's 3 checks right away. And as well, they'll have the sanctuary chest as they leave the escape sequence. These guys are making fantastic time through this, especially with the cane. It's not one of the fastest items, but they certainly have been handling it like professionals.
Yeah, they're making really good time with Samaria.
All right, we're going to get our look at the back of escape as Buane bums his way in there.
Okay, you definitely want those bombs because we got a hookshot and silvers.
Hookshot and silvers, and a heart to go along with it. I don't think you can be upset with anything that this seed is thrown at these guys. I bet you they are both feeling like this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially finding hookshot early. That's one of the best items to see because as soon as you get, flute or gloves, if you know your dark rooms, that opens up Death Mountain for you. And if you have Moon Pearl and Mitts, then you've got access to Dark Death Mountain as well as everything there too.
Absolutely, and there Buane picks up 300 rupees for his troubles. What a reward for rescuing Zelda. We are loaded up with all sorts of great, useful, versatile items, plus the rupees to get us started on our adventure. Now, the one check that I'm always curious to see what runners are going to do in this standard randomizer seed is who is going to look in the lumberjack house back area to see if this is an aggro seed or who is just going to make a bypass. It looks like Buane has chosen to bypass that and is taking the south entrance into the Lost Woods, but will Synack follow suit?
Yeah, we'll see. That's usually an interesting thing to see because, if there's an item that's necessary there, then, as soon as you get Aga, you might just run it right away because you're going to have to go in there anyways. But we get an early bottle so we can check Sick Kid in our Kakariko route.
Oh yeah, that's always a good feeling too, because that sometimes is a difficult check to reroute if you don't get a bottle until the midway point of the game before you have the flute, perhaps.
And more bombs is a triple.
20 rupees there's not enough to entice Buane, but Synack will pick that up.
Yeah, and both runners did actually opt to skip the lumberjack ledge, so we won't know if it's AGA 1 required there until somebody goes.
Now, neither of our runners were courageous enough to pull that book out and read what the pedestal had to offer. Perhaps they'll make that check after they finish off a place like Skullwoods. And here we're going to see Buane going into the Blind's Hut for 5 checks. We get 3 bombs. The flute! Oh my goodness! A single rupee and 3 more bombs. Can you believe a seed like this? They're getting all of the mobility very early on. Like, they don't have the boots yet, but...
Yeah, I'm expecting to find boots very soon at this point. You might as well.
Let's just wants them to be able to move all over the map and go wherever they need to go. It's excellent.
Yeah, it is interesting that neither one of them, with the book this early and you were already in Lost Woods, it wouldn't have been too much of a time loss to just go check the pedestal, especially for the knowledge it would have given you. Because if it shows, a major item right on pedestal, it's a pedestal seed, that gives you, a leg up on your opponent by quite considerable if they don't go check it.
It's a significant advantage to know you have to do the pedestal or the pendant dungeons. And we see the Moon Pearl here in the well. This seed is developing nicely.
Yeah, it's very loaded in the front so far.
And it also wants them to have as many bombs as necessary. Just throwing more and more bombs at them.
Yeah, sadly, no bomb upgrades yet, so they can't take advantage of them.
Buane is activating the flute. Let's see if Synack remembers that he should be doing that as well.
Yep, he will.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get the National Swag Dunk Anthem.
All right, and in the chicken coop, we find a big 20. Nothing too exciting there. Apparently, Sick Kid has been practicing his fletching skills. Made some arrows while lying in bed. And a piece of heart from the back of the tavern.
Yeah, so everything in the early parts of Cat Creek, we'll see what the library and the race game has for us, though.
All right, we're going to get a quick look here. We see that Eastern Palace is one of the 5-6 crystal dungeons, and the two off-color pendants, so the blue and the red pendant, were Tower of Hera and the Desert Palace.
Yeah, and I believe those were actually their vanilla locations as well, because I think Desert was red and Hera was blue.
Wow, and I didn't quite get a look at what was on the library shed. They went really quick through it, so hopefully Synack will give me a better shot.
Just IR upgrade.
Buane, lamenting the fact that he took the direct route through the maze game, but fluting over to the dam to check these areas.
Yep, early flute, no saving quits. And hookshot's due for his gloves.
Wow, we're getting close to Dark World access already. This seed is feeding our runners all sorts of goodies.
Yeah, we are hammer or mitts away from Dark World already.
Now, I had an interesting situation come up on another race that I was watching where they got the mitts, but still had to complete it, and the Moon Pearl, but still had to do Aghanim because they couldn't get past they couldn't get anywhere else than the two areas. They were kind of trapped behind hammer pegs everywhere. They couldn't get to the east side without using some kind of minor glitch.
Yeah, as if you don't get the hammer, then you either need flippers, or you need boots to be able to do the water walking glitch.
And there's our hammer.
Yep. So there's Dark World.
Wow! At 12 minutes and 37 seconds, we have Dark World access with the flute.
And plenty of rubies as well.
Indeed. Buane's going to use that flute to shortcut himself over towards the Ice Rod Cave. It's just a single check, but there's no time like the present to check it.
Yep, and Synack is right behind him.
You know what this means? We could get cane strats on Thieves Town. Blind could be done.
Yeah, if they don't want to use hammer strats against him, that is very true.
Looks like Buane is going to make use of the fake flippers. He's got a ton of rupees. He's got the Moon Pearl.
Synack is going to make the play towards Desert.
Yeah, he's reading that. We see the red boomerang there up on the ledge. He's reading the signals and feels that this is the play that the logic wants him to make. Buane's going to give us a look at what the hobo has under the bridge.
Yep, it is a sequence break right now, but we'll see. It might pay off. The hobo under the bridge was just deciding on destroying the bridge.
Mm-hmm. He finds the big key. Now he doesn't have a fire source yet. But if this is just the small key, there's the potential to go further into the dungeon. If this is a lantern or a fire rod here in the big key chest, Synack's going to be able to complete it.
Oh, just a compass.
We find ourselves the fighter shield and some more rupees, I believe, or was that the coveted bomb upgrade? I'm not sure. There in the Waterfall of Wishing.
Yeah, it was their first bomb upgrade. Now that we found all the bombs already. Just a piece of heart on Zora Ledge.
Synack's psyching me out by looking like he was going to head into the back half of Desert Palace, but instead is making just an interesting route choice to get to Agina's Cave.
Yeah, and we get a love lesson from Zora. But I was thinking he might go to steal a key to check those 2 chests, but decides against it.
Yeah, that would have been a possibility. Instead, he finds... Wow! What a find!
Yeah, that's actually huge for him because it looks like Buane is going to be heading into Dark World without the mirror.
Yes, that is it's an amazing difference when your routing options are able to open up due to the mirror. Buane is going to give us a look at the hype cave though, so let's see, chat, will this be a hype or a letdown of a cave?
Yep, and while he's doing that, Synack is making the play to Death Mountain as well.
Now with the mirror, that adds that extra check on top of Spectacle Rock. We get ourselves our fighter sword, an arrow upgrade, a full heart container, and a piece of heart from the hype cave. If that's the first sword in the game, that puts Buane in a good spot.
Yep, so we probably aren't going to see some Mario strats on blind though.
Yes, it does ruin that for me.
Just a piece of heart inside Spectacle Rock.
And we get our look there. It looked to me like Thieves Town was the other 5/6 crystal, and I saw a green pendant hanging out down in Swamp Palace.
Yep, that would be correct.
I see people in chat. Yes, it was a modest cave today. A sword is always useful, but not the greatest of exciting caves.
And Synack checking Paradox Cave while Buane continues in the Dark World.
He's going to give us a look at the dig game.
Alright, we got flippers.
Well, we got our first piece of footwear. Excellent. So that does put all of what we saw in Buane's sequence break into technically logically available with just that single item check. And Dig Game had for us the bug net.
Yeah, and interesting, chat pointed this out, but I noticed it right away as well. With everything they have, that immediately opens up Swamp now already too.
Oh, that is true. So they have access to potentially two out of the three pendant dungeons. Tower of Hera may be basement locked and need fire source as well as Desert Palace. Buane here is making the correct choice and is going to pick up his mirror. Something was telling him to check, and that's going to make him feel real good.
Yeah, probably wishes he would have had it before going to Dark World the first time, because now he's got the ledge, or K45 now, is kind of just sitting there for him.
Oh yeah, he did run right past that. So I anticipate he might try to route that in when he gets access to the bullfrog and brings his purple chest down, but it does slow him down. It's a little less efficient this way.
Right, Buane making the play up to Death Mountain as well, and he's going to go grab the old man. Synack decided to skip grabbing the old man.
Yeah, wondering if maybe he doesn't feel comfortable without the sword to give him those sparkles, maybe in that dark room. He does have the hook shot, which he could have been using, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's not. The other thing that you can technically do is with Cane of Samaria, you can grab the block and just carry it with you.
Just carry it. However, Synack's going to give us his version of the Hype Cave, and probably we will get an opportunity to see what's in that Cave 45 south of Grove.
Yes.
Now, it's possible that Synack could transition this directly to a Swamp Palace check. It would be an early call to make it to make a dip into a pendant dungeon, especially when you have available to you Thieves Town, which is a crystal that is also completable. But
Yeah,
he is kind of making that walk.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a gamble, but there's 7 items there right now with it being a green pendant, so that's pretty juicy for most runners.
Mm-hmm.
And especially finding all the items you did, it's almost kind of pointing you right into Swamp.
Buane's going to give us a look at what's on this tablet up here. Nothing but some rupees.
Yep, and might head into Hera, so we'll see if Hera is fire locked. And if not, we'll see if anything's important here, because Synack skipped Hera.
I'm really feeling like both of these runners kind of wish that they had checked that pedestal at this point.
Yeah, because that's important knowledge, because right now, we'll see if the big key's in this chest, because if not, it's fire locked. Okay, so yeah, Hera's fire locked. So technically, we're either fire rod or lamp away from the pedestal actually being in logic at that point.
So we're going to get a good look at the first dungeon dip. Lots of chests here, as you were saying. Lots of potential for items to be found.
Yeah, and I really think if you're a runner and you find something important here, you feel like you're ahead, because when you have Thieves Town completely open to you, Skullwoods isn't completely open to you, but it's there with its 2 items. Most runners aren't going to just decide, I'm going to dive into a pendant Swamp Palace, before 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, this early on, it would be a miracle call for him to get something, and you almost have to feel like, because of its early accessibility, that there's going to be something useful in here. Now, it could also have something like a medallion that, while useful, may not be essential at this early stage.
I mean, potentially, because if it's something like Bombos, depending on where Fire Rod is, we might need it to get into ice, and we would only be mitts away from Ice Palace then.
Now, we actually have Samaria as well, and the hookshot for Misery Mire. You just would want to have a lantern for that to be logically correct.
Yeah, nobody likes that dark room.
and no hammer strats or bowless on Vitreous is not really fun when all you have is the fighter sword.
Actually, they have Buane has Master Sword.
Yeah, he did get the Master Sword. I'm not sure where he picked that up.
He just got it from Paradox Cave.
From Paradox Cave.
Synack missed
Did
the
we
5
miss-
chest? He did.
How did that happen?
I mean, there wasn't anything else important in there, but yeah, a second sword is definitely important, because if the other swords are inaccessible, you need that for Ganon.
Did he just go out and not do the back part of Paradox Cave?
He must have. That's actually pretty major, because as far as, Buane's dungeons now and bosses, he's got a huge leg up when it comes to, damage and range.
Mm-hmm. We can see an indication of that right now on Synack's screen, where he had to activate that peg button switch from the one side. The fighter sword doesn't quite reach through the wall there. The master sword is slightly longer.
Yeah, hopefully he remembers that at some point, because, you know, he'll end up in Death Mountain again. And those 5 chests are sitting there.
Yeah, and I would think that he would not have any desire to head up there until he finds the Titan's Myth, and who knows when that will be. Meanwhile, Buane gets another sword upgrade out of the chest game in Kakariko Village, so that actually puts me a little bit more at ease for Synack, because there's a fairly good chance that when he hits Village of Outcasts that he's going to be taking a look there.
Yeah, he'll get that sword. Now, kind of the major thing is if they don't find another sword, it's Master Sword versus Tempered on Ganon when they get to that point. So if it's a close race, then Buane's got a bit of a advantage.
Mm-hmm. And there on the far side of the left side of Swamp Palace, Synack has found the Titan's Mitt.
Speak of the mitts and you shall have them.
Yeah, so this was as well an incredibly good move for him to have made. It just turns out that there were equally good moves to be made elsewhere. It'll have to wait and see just how well it pays off. This Titan's Mitt really eases a lot of the accessibility of the overworld into the Dark World. So Buane is now taking his look at the first 4 chests in Thieves Town.
Yeah, and actually where Synack found that's probably the best place for him to find that, because when he finishes race game, instead of having to save and quit or mirror and then go through Kakariko to the portal, he can just grab the rock and go right in.
Yeah, that's absolutely a big benefit, especially it's going to make, his whole south route is going to be far more efficient. It also kind of points him back towards the dark side of Death Mountain and gives him another opportunity to check those chests that he missed in Paradox Cave.
Yeah, definitely might lead him back there, and if he remembers Paradox, it'll give him, if he's been to Village of Outcasts, it'll give him Tempered at that point.
All right, so Buane's making his way towards the back part of Thieves Town. And Synack is about to face his first boss, the Green Pendant Argus. Now, there's always a kind of an added bonus whenever you kill a pendant boss. If it's the Green Pendant, you do have that Saharshala check, which neither of our runners has headed to his hut. So there's still 3 chests in the back of that area, as well as being able to speak to Saharshala to grab that 4th item.
Yeah, so once he gets the pendant, we'll see if he dips back in. Because the big chest is going to have something, I think, at this point.
Now we see the slideshow that is Hammerstrats on Argus. Making an attempt there to grab 2 puffs. Good job. He's going to have to be careful. He does not have much health. And with Green Mail, Argus is 1 body check away from defeating him.
Yeah, and no safety, so he doesn't have a pot or anything to get his health back at this point. Alright, just gotta get Argus down now. Just gonna use fighter sword spins.
Yeah, I think this is just a safety. This pattern is relatively easy to deal with. It's just going to take some time. So Buane has grabbed Blind's decoy.
Down goes Argus.
For a 5-bomb upgrade and a green pendant.
Yep, and that green pendant.
So Thieves Town didn't get us anything of extreme value, but will provide us with a 5/6 crystal, so definitely worthwhile. There's still opportunity, but so far, nothing to write home about.
Yep, and Synack is going to head back in for the big chest. We'll see what's there. And Buane is going to be on his blind fight.
So this is one of the more scripted fights of the game. It just takes 3 hits per phase on Blind's head. Doesn't matter what weapon you're using, as long as it can do damage to Blind, it takes 3 hits. And if you perform this correctly, he won't actually make this transition to the bottom half of the room. However, Buane finishes him off with almost a single cycle, grabs a piece of heart and the 5/6 crystal.
Yep, and nothing else of value was in Swamp. It was just those mitts. But Thieves Town, from the looks of it, didn't have anything of value at all.
Yeah, and the mitts are tremendously valuable. So here we see if Synack had only managed to get his sword upgrade, he wouldn't just be doing this check, he'd be actually activating it. So if this is something useful, like the freeze rod, the ice rod,
yeah,
he would already have it.
The nice thing is the knowledge of it at the very least. So when he gets a sword, he knows he's going to have to come back here. And considering he's got to do purple chest, it'll be easy for him to route it in with purple chest at that point.
Yep, now he's going to have the opportunity to take the quicker way to this portal to the Dark World through this heavy rock.
We're going to check on the graveyard ledge. And Synack is about to pick up their Master Sword. Just a big 20 in the graveyard ledge. And Synack is immediately going to dive right into Thieves Town.
Alright, so Buane knows that he can't get into King's Tomb, does not yet have the boots. So he kind of changes his pathing plan, and it looks like he might be heading into the Dark World portal near the Swamp Palace. So let's see where he decides to go with this.
He's either going to go to K45 or he's going to go to Swamp. Or maybe Pod, possibly.
Well, maybe he's going to check the tablet there. Or no, he's going to K45. Just 20 more rupees there.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes now.
He's already in this area, so you got to feel like he has a plan to do something more with this transition. So I'm wondering if that's going to be either Swamp or the tablet.
And from the looks of it, it's going to be tablet.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll pick an ice rod up.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic pickup because Turtle Rock is going to be required. And this can be a place you don't check.
Yeah, Filthy Cur, he's already checked Stumpy already at this point. But gets his ice rod, probably very happy to see that because now he doesn't have to go hunting for it for Turtle Rock when he needs to go there.
Yeah, the worst feeling in the world is thinking you might have to enter Turtle Rock when you're missing the ice rod. And hope that it'll be there. And he's going to make the play into Swamp as well since he's already this close. The allure of all of those item checks has drawn him in. And he is going to be well rewarded provided he does not bypass the left side.
Yeah, and I mean, if he does decide to do a left side skip, which usually if you're looking for this many items still, you don't do, I'm sure he'll go back in and dive it for the last 2 items.
Yeah, this early on in the game, it makes sense to just, there's so much available items that you need to find. Every chest is worth a lot.
But well, both these runners are kind of retracing each other's steps at this point. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, definitely go and give both these runners a follow. They've been putting on a good show for us so far, and it's probably only going to get better.
Yeah, we have seen an awful lot of action in just a short 35 minutes.
I don't necessarily think he's skipping the green pennant. He's just probably putting it off until he needs to go to the eastern area anyways, because he still has Sahasrara to check. He hasn't been inside eastern, so if he would find something like the bow and knows the dark room for eastern, he could just go in there and clear it all, and even route it in with pod at this point.
Yeah, it is one of those kind of situations where they have so many chests available to both of the runners at this point that there's a lot of places they can look that they can actually complete that are kind of have the effect of kind of pulling you towards them instead of going into a place like Eastern Palace where you have 3 or 4 chests that you're available to you, but one of which is not in logic. So just from an efficiency standpoint, it makes sense to try to find the items that you need to complete it. So in this case, a bow or a lantern, or the lantern. Ooh. Synack taking an unfortunate death there on the blind fight. He will be able to head back in if he chooses, but perhaps he's going to look for some more health or life in the form of armor or potions or something before making that attempt.
Yeah, he might just decide to come back. We'll see where he goes. Might just do the frog route, purple chest, since he knows the ice rod's there and he needs to grab it at some point.
Mm-hmm. It is early enough, and Thieves' Town is in such a central location that it's fairly straightforward to get there. So Buane is definitely not foregoing the left side, so he's going to find himself the Titan's Mitts in a few minutes. Meanwhile, Synack's probably going to make his check into K45. I don't believe he's made that look yet. Thought about going to dig game there, but decided he'll get that at another time as well.
And he's probably doing this and then going back to the chest game or digging game, because when he finishes the smiths and grabs purple chest, he'll just flute instead of checking these locations walking.
Mm-hmm. So Buane has now successfully acquired Titan's Mitts. He's going to make his way quickly through the last part of Swamp Palace, getting himself the green pendant and the potential for more goodies when he hits the Eastern Palace area. So I expect we'll get the rescuing Jeremiah the Bullfrog, Peg Cave, and then Purple Chest out of Synack in the near future. Where will you go if you're Buane, though?
Well, let's see. Skullwoods has 2 items that are potentially there depending on where they're set up. Pod is open, except for dark rooms, and if it's bow locked. Catfish and Pyramid are open. Dark Death Mountain is open. I would probably head up to Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, you have access to Super Buddy Cave, both of all of Hookshot Cave. There's also the floating island available there. Could get a look at what medallion is going to be necessary for Turtle Rock. Lots of available information. Be useful,
Yeah,
if not immediately, but later.
Yeah, and Mire area is also open too.
Oh, yep. Sometimes when a seed gives you this much available places to check, it seems like it's just a scavenger hunt for the 1 or 2 items that you really need, instead of when a seed has put you on a very linear path. So it'll be interesting to see how these runners tackle this type of situation. So our dwarven smiths were crafting some armor today. Blue mail is a nice find, especially for Synack because of his troubles in Thieves Town. That's a little bit of more safety and security that might encourage him to head back there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he might route that a lot sooner now.
And now we can see that the difference having Tempered Sword makes during the Argus fight.
Yeah, much quicker fight because of that Tempered Sword.
Synack's deciding to take this treasure chest on a world tour. Oh, he has recalled that he needs to hit the ice rod tablet there. And so he's going to go to the Dark World just to make that a little bit easier.
Yes. So that way he can route them together.
Buane comes out of Swamp Palace, activates his flute, and is heading towards Eastern Palace. Oh.
Yep, that looks like where he's going.
I was wondering if he was going to bring the portal up and mirror out of pod and check Eastern Palace first. Unfortunately, we find the single arrow in the purple lunchbox.
Yeah, right now, pod's probably not the most attractive option right now. Not having the bow or a lamp, there's really not many locations that are within logic. But Sahasrara is holding our last sword upgrade.
So we had lots, and there's the fire rod in the back of his house. This world is getting more and more open for our runners.
Yeah, Skull Woods would probably be a really good play to make now. Ice Palace is open as well at this point.
Yep. Looks to me like Buane is going to be heading up to Skull Woods. This is immediately available right as soon as he enters this Dark World portal.
And also, chat, when he goes to Skull Woods, if you want this to be a pedestal seed, you probably want to start getting your thoughts and prayers in right now, because at some point he will probably be checking the pedestal with the mirror and the book.
I was watching closely to see if we'd get a check at what the pendant was, or the medallion was for Misery Mire, but as of yet we haven't seen it. Just a big 20 in the Mire Shed, along with the Quake medallion.
We'll see if that was the medallion needed for Misery Mire itself. It was.
It was, which makes up his mind for him immediately. Now, Misery Mire has one of what some would call a very challenging darkroom sequence if you don't have the lantern. However, many of our runners have been practicing these darkrooms just to make sure that they're capable of handling them. It'll be interesting to see how and if Synack decides to make his way through this.
Yep, and we got a 5-bomb upgrade so far in the Skull Woods. I'm not sure if we found the second item earlier, or if it's going to be a Mothula or one of those last items, or the last chest there.
I'm wondering if this seed is trolling them with a vanilla or vanilla-like bow location in Eastern Palace.
It is possible. It's also possible for the bow to be on the pedestal, this seed.
Both of our runners in new areas. Both of these dungeons have 2 items that they're looking for. Ooh. Our health situation is not looking so great.
No, he opened the chest, so I'm sure it gave him the item for it, but...
Yeah, I couldn't see what it was, though.
No, he died immediately, and Buane starting his Mothula fight.
Gets the big key for his troubles. There's still the chest in the area leading up to Mothula, so he may be looking at that if there's still an item left.
Yeah, I'll probably go and grab that really quick.
Yep. And Synack decides that he's had enough of Misery Mire for now. Buane is going to give us our pedestal check. So let's hold our breaths, everyone, and see if it's something that will be required.
Just a little piece of love, though.
That's a little peace of mind for Buane to have.
So the interesting thing to note right now, if for some reason Turtle Rock is Quake as well, we and the runners are comfortable with dark strats. Technically, they only need the bow at this point to complete the seed unless the big key in Ganon's Tower is on the torch.
So it's a potential very early go mode. Buane is forced to make this bomb jump in order to check the big key. Still has an item to find and gets the shovel. So a fetch quest. Now with the flute in the mirror, it's not awful to make your way back down to the grove to do this. So if he feels like it's something worth checking, probably the next time he swings by that area, he'll go ahead and dig that up.
Yep, and Synack heading to Catfish, looks like.
Now he has not yet made a Zora check. He has the flippers now, so probably going to route all that together. And since Buane has not yet done the Bullfrog and Purple Lunchbox check, he's probably going to have a nice, easy way to route in that dig spot.
The catfish is a wizard today. It gives us half magic.
Yes, that is a lovely find. I really, really feel more comfortable when I have half magic for that Ganon fight. For some reason, I always get paranoid that I'm going to run out of magic.
Yeah, especially if you have to do something like serverless. You know, having potions that you can fill with green goo or blue goo helps, but it gives you that peace of mind that I'm more than likely fine, even using the fire rod with half magic.
It also makes Ice Palace a little bit nicer if he still has the Master Sword only at that moment. If and when he finds the fire rod from Eastern Palace or from Saharshala's hut, that'll make it a little bit easier to deal with Cold Stare. So Buane pulls out his shovel. He's gonna go for a dig.
And Synack at this point might be heading to Sahasrara. Nope, not yet. Still gonna skip out on that.
But this might be a good time for him to make that check into the Paradox Cave that he neglected earlier, and route that in with the dark side of Death Mountain. Hopefully, he remembers that he missed a few key chests there.
Yeah, and we found out the shovel just led to a big 20, so just a crappy fetch quest.
It's going to be really telling here if he goes up and sets up a mirror portal between the two doors. If he does not, then it could be that he has slipped his mind about that. Throwing down some Cane of Samaria. He wanted to use up his magic a little bit so he could drink that green potion to replace it with a red one for some health later on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Having taken the death that he did on blind, he wants the safety.
Now, both of our runners are in the Super Bunny Cave, very close to one another at this point. And we just find some more rupees. And we'll get our look at Hookshot Cave now. Find 50 rupees. A full heart container. The lantern, there it is. So dark rooms be done. And 3 bombs for Buane.
Alright, so yeah, no more dark rooms. So that's Mire completely open logically. Pod becomes a lot more enticing now that you don't have to worry about those dark rooms, but Turtle Rock is Ether. So we are Ether and Bow away from Go mode now.
And potentially the boots. Technically, they are not necessary for Desert Palace, even though there's a key trapped on that torch. We just need the fire source. So Buane is actually going to be able to get a 2-for-1 here. Once he gets into the Mire Shed and picks up this Quake, he'll be able to go into Misery Mire as well as finishing off Desert Palace, although I don't believe, has that knowledge himself yet.
Yeah, Synack was the one, I believe, that went into Desert Palace. He'll be able to finish it off, but considering he won't be able to get the 2 items, and it's just Len Mullis, and he's the one that knows it's not a pedestal seed, he might not even think about it.
That is correct. I had forgotten at this point. He is the one who has the knowledge that this is not necessarily required. Of course, the bow is in there, so probably should go. Good. This time Synack is going to head into Tower of Hera, which we know is basement required, but he does have the lantern now, so he's going to be able to finish that off and show us some things we have not yet seen.
Yeah, and if he does find something like Ether or the bow in here, that will be big for him because it might take a while for Buane to decide to come back in here.
Yeah, he's probably going to feel the pressure to check all of the crystal dungeons that he can finish at this point, instead of looking into these pedestal pendant required dungeons.
Yeah, but Synack actually deciding to leave, sees he has to go into the basement, decides he's against it.
So Synack has got a lot of the start of many dungeons, and he's cleared up to the boss of a couple, but has unfortunately not been able to complete all that many at this time.
Yeah, we should be able to get a check on what's on this chest.
It was the big key. So that was the key that Synack tried to grab, but died midway through. So he probably has the big key in his inventory at this time for Misery Mire.
Yeah, and Buane is going to have to be careful. No powder. Don't believe he's traded in his green potion, so he's sitting on 2 hearts right now.
Alrighty, so he's going to take us all the way to the long cutscene, where we will see what is on the vanilla big key chest.
Yep, and he's going to go in and finish these town.
With the blue mail and that red potion that he purchased earlier, feel a lot more confident.
Yeah, and I believe has 4 more hearts than his last attempt as well, so hopefully doesn't even need the red potion now.
And Buane finds a piece of heart which has replenished all of his health because it completed a heart container for him. So he's gone from being stuck at 2 hearts in Misery Mire to being very healthy as he makes his way through the latter half of that dungeon.
Yep, the clutch piece of heart.
Gets the mushroom as one of the items here. Another fetch quest.
So if that was, yeah, that should be the second item on a Misery Mire then.
And this time, blind goes down without much difficulty as Buane heads towards the back half of Misery Mire. So we should keep in mind it's going to be a fairly sure thing for Synack to get the Tempered Sword. He just has to head to Eastern Palace, which is going to be a required dungeon, so there's no way he doesn't stop and talk to Saharshala along the way, grabbing that other sword upgrade.
Yeah, the only way I would see that happening is if he would be in go mode, because then he'll just go to pod and route it in and probably just completely forget about the green pendant then.
Yes, but we know that the fire rod is in Saharshala's hut, so...
Oh, yeah, that's not possible then.
Yeah. Let's going to go ahead and take a look at the checkerboard cave. Bypassed this last time he was here. I lost signal for a moment, but we have recovered.
Yeah, we have him back.
Sees that it's just a piece of art there. Now, Buane's going to go ahead and just use spins with the butter sword. This is very effective on these vitreous eyeballs. Hurts a little bit to stand in the goo when you don't have the cape or the cane of Verna, but he's got plenty of health. Makes short work.
Yeah, and Synack following suit here. So Buane gets his third crystal. We'll see where he heads next.
Yeah, this part, it's got a lot of opportunity, a lot of potential. Might feel like an ice palace is where he's going, but perhaps he's going to go ahead and take a look at desert. He is here, and he may feel like, it's worth the peak. Now, what might be interesting, he does have the possibility of stealing a key to take a look at those last two chests, knowing that he doesn't have to kill Lanmolas. This might be a decision that Buane makes.
It is. It would be a gamble, though, because there is the potential if you don't find both items back here, because there was nothing in the big chest either. That means Lanmolas has an item, and at that point you force the sea to require you to have boots when they may not be necessary.
That is true.
But we'll see if he does decide to steal a key. Nope, heading back to the mire area.
To do his checkerboard.
So at this point, places that we haven't checked, that we have access to. Let's see, Lanmolas is an option. We do have the top of Hera with one item. We have all of Eastern, except for Armos, Ice Palace, and pretty much all of Pod.
And it is possible for Pod not to be bow-locked for a large portion of it. So there could be a fairly substantial amount of checks. Buane's going to give us a look at what the mushroom turn-in was for. And it was a full heart container.
Yeah, and he's picking up a potion. Which may be possibly thinking about using potion glitch in Pod if it does end up being bow locked.
Yep, at this point he's going to head to Ice Palace, though. He's Flute Choice lets us know.
Yep. So we are going to get the Ice Palace play.
When in doubt, go to a crystal dungeon that you can full clear. It's always a good move.
The green pendant was the 4th sword upgrade.
So our first item here is a fire shield.
So 2 items left in Ice Palace then.
Yeah, Ice Palace is a dungeon that has an awfully large number of potential chests with which you can find items, but most of them are keys. Considering you can make it all the way through the dungeon with bomb jumps and hookshot, it's deceptive in that nature.
Yep, and Buane is gonna do the bomb jump.
Now, Synack is going to be forced into Master Sword Vitreous. Most likely, he's got 23 bombs, so I'm thinking we might see some bomb strats here.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's true. And he's going to have to be careful. Does have that red potion, but when he gets the Vitreous, he cannot take a hit at all.
Alright. We have yet to find anything extra in Ice Palace yet, so we're about to start our Vitreous fight, which is going to be exciting.
Yep, and Synack immediately going to use this red potion.
I might just go with sword spins on these eyeballs, but that's the second very long and slow fight. Woo! Dodging lightning.
That was still so far nothing in Ice Palace.
Nice Palace, yeah. It's drawing a blank.
Synack has to be careful now. He can't take another hit. Opts for hammer strats now.
Oh. Oof, the lightning takes him down. 2 hearts down the last hit. Oh, finally gets another one of the eyes down. Every eye he kills at this point just increases his chances of surviving this fight tremendously. There's another one.
Yep, another one.
Oh, the lightning! You have to feel for him. He's just been having a rough go of all of his boss encounters this seed. Looks like he's going to make the look at Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness now. He's going to be rewarded with a sword upgrade, which I can tell you he's going to wish he had before he started that Mire check. And Buane gets the next piece of progression he needs, which is the Ether Medallion in the big key of Ice Palace.
Yeah, and I think at this point you just go right into Turtle Rock now.
Yeah, he's done most of the checks everywhere else. And there's so many chests. Laser bridges just always seems to have value, except when it doesn't.
Yes, I mean, I really think he just has dungeons still at this point, and then you're dipping into either a pendant dungeon or you're going to Eastern or Pod without the bow, which you could potentially have to double dip. Whereas Turtle Rock, but we have boots, so that opens up something.
What a last 2 pieces of loot out of Ice Palace were both good ones to find.
Yeah, it took a while to get to the last 2, but very, very welcome to see.
Mm-hmm. So we are just a bow away from go mode for Buane. Synack just picked up the fire rod, so he's getting 1 step closer as well.
Yep, and is going to make the play into Pod first.
Yeah, there are a lot more chests available to him, as long as he doesn't get bow locked early on. So let's see what he finds. Well, he's going to switch to mirror and go Eastern first. Oh, Buane is being a little cheeky, checking the lumberjack cave now, just in case the bow is up there. And it is not. It's just 5 bombs.
Yeah, that was our first check as well. Over an hour into the seed.
Yes. And it would have been... Oh, Synack decides to flute away after opening up Palace of Darkness.
He's gonna head to Skull Woods with the fire rod now.
Mm-hmm. So we've got Bonk Rocks checked. And I'm wondering if we'll get King's Tomb as well. Yeah, it looks like that's what's going to happen.
Yep, looks like we'll get King's Tomb. That's about all we have for Overworld, though. I think the only things we have other than that are Spike Cave, which isn't even in Logic at this point because we still don't have Cape or Burna.
Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure Buane's going to make his way to Turtle Rock now. He knows he has everything he needs to get through it. And Buttersword Trinex is fairly straightforward, even without half magic.
Yeah, but he's got Butter Sword, so this will be a nice, easy fight for him when he gets there.
Mm-hmm. So, will this be the seed where the Eastern Palace is the last dungeon that our runners are able to clear before the Ganon's Tower climb? So instead of it being the first, as it is in the normal game, the intentional path of the game, it may very well be our last.
Yes, I guess if you don't find the bow in Turtle Rock, and all you have to really check is Turtle or Eastern Palace and Pod. It's like, which one do you check first? Eastern? Because it's technically quicker to check than Pod is, but Pod has more items, so...
Yeah, it is a coin flip there. And it's the kind of coin flip that could make or break a seed for runners if they're close at that point. Having to double dip one for the other and the other runner not having to double dip could be all of the difference that they need to pull ahead. Of course, we also have the mysteries of what might be on Lanmolas, and Tower of Hera is still fairly unknown.
Yeah, and something that Synack could do... Buane's not able to do this anymore because he turned in his mushroom. Synack could fake powder, and then if it would be something like Bow on Batman, Buane would need to find wherever powder ends up being.
Yeah, just another fetch quest can be incredibly aggravating to try to find the start of it. So.
Synack having a very nice fight against Mothra so far.
And making use of that fire rod and half magic to.
Up and down goes Mothra.
Now the question is, will he head in and recheck that big key chest? We know it's important that he does so. Or it's just the shovel. So, and the shovel led to a red rupee, so.
Yep.
But he is going to make the check on this chest at least. Buane has turned back into the light link. momentarily.
Gets the key there. So I believe we got 7 locations left plus Mimic Cave.
Yeah, so many places to check. Synack's going to take his look at the pedestal, see that he has been making the correct choice so far by avoiding completing all of those dungeons, at least.
Well,
as far as a ped
we
seat
know.
is required.
Yeah, Bo could be in either one of those dungeons at this point.
Now, a bow on Tower of Hera when both of our runners were right up there at the early start. After they'd visited Hookshot to get fire would be an interesting situation. Buane grabs the big key chest before getting out and setting himself up to take a look at what the Mimic Cave has.
Yeah, and I like doing that because it's quicker to check that than to go into Mimic Cave. Because if you find the bow there for some reason, you don't even need to come in here.
Just a nice little efficiency trade-off. There's 5 rupees.
Yep, so we have the Crystal Roller Room, but I believe that has to be a key. Synack gets his shovel.
Yes, if we have no keys left...
Nope, it's a key, so it doesn't have to be one.
It does not have to be. He has 1. But it could be a key, which would indicate that all of the laser bridge chests are potentially something.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, there
Or
it
it could
is.
just be right there.
Nope, can't reach the... Even Buttersword can't make that far of a stretch, Buane.
Yeah, we are in go mode.
Full go mode for Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace. Feels good if you have to have 2 dungeons left to go mode. When it's those 2, they're right next to each other, just a mirror away. Feels good. Now he is going to have to check Laser Bridge because he's missing a key.
Yep, and Eastern and Pod are basically just going to be scavenger hunts for the big key.
So this tells me that one of those, Hera or perhaps Desert, had either another shield upgrade or perhaps the Cape or Cane of Verna to put this area of the bridge in logic, but he's found his key now, so he's able to escape.
I mean, they could even technically be an Eastern or a Pod, and then logically a double dip was required.
No, that is true as well.
Synack is going to be making the play into Ice Palace, it looks like, though. Get his... Nope. Or not.
Maybe he hasn't taken a look yet at the other checks available to him. Yes, he didn't fake flipper, so he just used the mirror at Catfish. So he hasn't seen these. With the Butter Sword, each of these heads only takes 1 shot from the appropriate ice or fire rod and then 3 swings. So he's going to get a real fast try next kill here. There we go.
Very quick try next kill.
So now it's just a matter of how fast can Buane find the big key in Palace of Darkness.
Yep, Scavenger Hunt in Eastern Palace, and Pod for big keys, and then it's going to be up Death Mountain to Ganon's Tower.
For a seed that was very open, he's been making excellent progress through all of these dungeons, finding the right calls along the way. Both of our runners made that very good decision early on to head into the Pendant Swamp in order to pick up the Titan's Mitts.
Yeah, thankfully it did end up being Titan's Mitts in Swamp Palace, because that would have locked them out of a lot of locations. If it could have been something else, like, you know, Ice Rod, something like that, and they would have put it off, it could have put it off for a long time.
Yeah, this is a seed that it had the potential to be very difficult to find what was necessary, but for whatever reason, both of these runners had the correct idea that it was asking them to go into Swamp early.
Yeah, I mean, having all the items is just kind of like Turtle Rock. It gave you all the items pretty quickly, and it's like you get the medallion in Ice Palace. It's like, yeah, I'd rather do it, and especially it's like you can't finish Pot or Eastern Palace. I'd rather go into a Crystal Dungeon. I can finish, even though it's Turtle Rock, before, you know, going into those and potentially having a double dip.
Let's see if we find the key here. So Pod wouldn't have been bow locked early on.
We just had a map there.
Oof. Knight did not want to die.
And Synack looks like he's setting up for the bomb jump. And that looks good.
He's got it, yep. Buane pulls the trigger really fast on those shots with the bow. Finding another small key. Just wants that big key.
Which it's going to be in the back somewhere.
Or will it be vanilla? Oh,
It could be vanilla.
Buane showing his displeasure at missing that bomb. He gets a piece of heart for his trouble.
Yep. No vanilla big key today.
So we know that Ice Palace is not runner friendly and that it's hanging on to all of its items to the last two checks that runners are most likely going to make. Well, one of them on being on Cold Stare and the other one being near the end.
Yep, another key. Synack's gonna start heading up. There's Bombos.
And the big key.
There's our big key. Yep, doesn't need to check anymore. Already has a small key, so he's good to go all the way to Helmasaur King now.
Yeah, and at this point, Butter Sword, Silver Arrows, Blue Mail, 13 Hearts. Buane does not really going to feel pressure to pick up anything more than he already has.
Yeah, only thing he'd be looking for right now is Red Mail, but even then, probably don't need it.
Yeah, he may incidentally pick up chests that are right in front of his face, but he is in a race for the end now. All right. The Helmasaur King fight, unfortunately, no matter how equipped you are, still takes 17 smashes with the hammer to break his face shield. Although a runner could be inclined to choose to use bombs if he feels like it.
Yeah, they could, but more than likely we won't see silvers because it takes about the same time as just slashing him 2 times with the butter sword.
Yeah. And there's always the shot that you might miss if he makes a little sidestep at the last moment. The
That
sword
is
has a
also
much
true.
better hitbox.
But here's Hamilsword King.
Yeah, managing to juke out those. Oh, he does choose to switch to the arrow. Gets it.
Yep, gets it. Synack gets his Ether Medallion, so that opens up Turtle Rock for him, where his bow is for go mode. Buane gets his compass from Helmsword King and crystal number 6.
No need to go and exchange that for the bomb from Fat Fairy, or it's Eastern Palace that has the other 5/6 crystals, so he's not going to make that check.
Yep, no Fat Fairy today.
Quick mirror here. He even has a blue potion right now. He is in a perfect situation for finishing off this seed.
Alright, 1 puff down for Synack. Oh no.
Oh no, another boss. Just giving Synack the business. This time he elects to stay. He does have to start making progress on some of these dungeon bosses, so.
Yeah, on the bright side, he doesn't need to do the bomb jump at this point.
That's true. Buane finds the big key fairly early on, so that's going to speed his progress through. Although he will still have to run right past one more chest, so it might be interesting if he just takes a peek in case it does have the red mail.
Yeah, especially since more than likely he'll end up hook shot into it anyway, so I'll be right next to it even.
Yes. He's going to try and get the quick skip through here. He has sword beams, so that was easy. Nope. He's not even going to look for anything.
Takes both the knights down, bombs them to kill them.
Takes care of those Igars. Has a full stack of 40 arrows, so plenty of ammo.
Yep, and off to Armos. Don't blink or you're going to miss this fight.
And that's about as picture perfect as you can ask for an Armos fight.
Yeah, but that does mean Buane picks up crystal number 7. So, Crowzone, do you know what time it is?
I believe it's time for everybody's favorite guessing game. Would you care to explain it for our chat friends?
Yeah, so we are on our way up Death Mountain to Ganon's Tower, where we have to find a big key so we can climb up the tower. It is somewhere in the basement of that tower in locations numbered 122. Put in your number, guess where that key is. If you are a subscriber of Speed Gaming, or you have donated at least 250 bits to any of the channels, you have a chance to be entered into the leaderboard if you are the first one to guess it correctly.
So you guys have from now until Buane enters the dungeon. I am going to predict that it is on chest number 11 today. What do you think?
I am going to go... I'm not going to pick a number. I'm going to say it's on Bob's chest today.
Ooh.
Right. In the meantime, we have Synack versus Cold Stare round 2.
Oh, he gets a great lockdown in the corner there, but an Ice Rock does knock him back, kind of disrupting his slash fest. He's down to 1.5 hearts again, which is getting him very close. He's going to elect to use his blue goo. I don't blame him for this. He does not need to have another run through this dungeon, and there goes Cold Stare.
Yep, down goes Cold Stare. He gets his boots. Gets his crystal.
And Buane is entering the tower. So you have a couple more seconds to lock in those numbers, but let's the game begin. So Buane's going to go for the traditional initial check of these first 2 chests on the right-hand side. Grabs the big key in chest 1.
Oh,
Picks up a little key. He did need to pick up that small key before heading up the tower, so that is why he made that second check. But he could not have asked for a better setup there.
that is the God Ganon Tower right there.
So, did anyone choose 1?
Looks like somebody did choose 1. Alpha Channel, congratulations on successfully guessing that the first chest would hold that big key.
Congratulations, welcome to the leaderboard. 4 wins, Alpha. What is that?
Yep, only 1 away from being tied for the complete lead.
I think he just needs to watch some more rando races, that's all. Synack goes ahead and uses Ether, which has frozen all of these creatures at the start of Misery Mire's entranceway. It's kind of an interesting little side effect. Makes them easy to kill, but does not kill them outright, unfortunately.
Does make the room a little bit easier, and it does immediately kill the whiz ropes in the room. But Buane is making very good time up the gauntlet so far.
Yeah, he's just flying through. It's as if he's a man on a mission. He wants that second win. Oh, with the perfect 1 cycle on Landmolus 2.
Yep, couldn't get much quicker than that, if at all.
They were barely even out of the dirt.
And he takes down one of the 2 most satisfying rooms in Link to the Past.
It just feels so good when you get them all in 1 cycle. There it is again.
Alright, Synack making his way to Vitreous.
I'd like to compliment Buane on his menuing as well this matchup. He has been on point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what his menu time is at the end of the seed.
Mm-hmm. Nice grab on the Helmsars there to grab that key.
Gonna go for spins again, this time with Tempered though.
Yeah, it's a significantly easier fight to do damage to these eyes with the Tempered Sword than it was with the Master Sword.
Gonna use that blue goo to be safe. Buane picks up Troldorm's treasure.
Just a big 20. And we are on our way up to Aga 2.
Just a few more little eyeballs. That was the last one.
Buane played us a little tune on the door there. Gets a double on his first try. Hook shot to the face for not getting that triple.
Just a single there. One more single.
And down goes Aga 2.
Yep. 4 cycle Aga 2-1-1-2. Synack finishing off Meyer. We'll see where he goes as Buane heads off to Gannon.
With butter sword, silver arrows, this is going to be a quick one.
Yeah, and even has a blue potion, I believe, for safety still. So
Synack stops to grab another potion. He's just got enough, doesn't have enough rupees for a blue, so he grabs a red. And the correct play here we know is to go to Turtle Rock. Looks like that's where he's heading.
yep, that is where he's going. And Buane, meanwhile, quick to phase 3.
He's going to make use of that blue potion now to refill his hearts. Menuing very fast still. Back to the bow.
Two more strikes will get us to phase 4. Now just one. Alright, so enter phase 4. We just need 4 silver arrows, and there's going to be 1.
Ooh. What a quick shot there. Is he going to go for the double here? He gets it.
Very quick phase 4.
What an excellent Ganon fight there. That's one of the best you'll see. Just from possibility with the RNG of Ganon, he did teleport around a little bit more than some runners would like to see, but Buane put on a clinic there on how to deal with that boss.
Yeah, and Buane enters the Triforce room with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 18 seconds.
Well, that was a show and a half, I would say. Really exciting seed. Lots of potential for our runners to explore and make decisions, and both of them made fairly decent ones along the way. Just Synack ended up having some trouble with a lot of the bosses early on, which put him in a difficult position to overcome that kind of time backup that he built up.
Yeah, and we'll see. It looks like Buane is actually in the waiting room for interview, so we're going to go ahead and pull him in here.
Alrighty. GG Buane, what a seed. Synack's now making his way into Turtle Rock.
Buane, are you able to hear us?
Hey, there you guys are. Hey, I'm here.
So, GG, what did you think of that seed?
I've had easier seeds before. That was an interesting one, though. Very twisty and turny early on. Really super locked into that mirror. How about that?
Oh yeah, that early mirror was fairly nice at a Guinness cave, right? I believe it was.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a pretty lucky find. That's not how I would usually route that, but I figured I had the book. I might as well check what was on the ledge. And hey, I'm in the area. Let's check again too.
Yeah, and that did probably prompt your early peek into what was in Swamp Palace, which also gave you the Titan's Mitts and unlocked a lot of potential areas for you. So was that your thought process there? Or?
Yeah, after the flippers, I said, boy, it's 25 minutes into the game and I can do Swamp if I want to. I could have gambled and jumped in there right away. I did a good amount of the Dark World first, but it definitely felt like the seed was pointing towards Swamp, even with the green pendant.
Yes, at that point, I believe you had Tempered Sword before you went in there, which did make the Argus fight pretty quick and painless. Your opponent, unfortunately, at that point only had the Fighter Sword still, so it was a little bit longer.
Oh yeah,
bit of a slideshow for him.
I forget where the swords were. I know the Butter Sword was the green pendant turn in, so that was nice. I think I got the Tempered right before going in there, actually, which was also nice.
Yeah, Tempered Sword for you was at the chest game?
Right, that sounds correct.
Yeah,
it's so hard to it's just an hour later. I still can't really remember where most of the things are in the seeds I play, but that sounds right.
Yeah, and I believe you picked up it was in Paradox Cave, was the Master Sword.
Yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of times I almost got pulled into other pendant dungeons, but when I hadn't done Sahasrara when I went up Death Mountain the first time, so I couldn't really progress in Hera, which I guess ended up being lucky because I didn't have a fire source.
Yeah. No fire, yeah.
And later, even with Desert, after I got the boots, kind of felt, hey, maybe Bo is in Desert and you don't have to go all the way up to Turtle Rock, but made the conservative play, which ended up paying off this time.
Yeah, we were wondering if you might think about stealing a key and heading over to the other side, but...
It was a consideration, but I hadn't pulled an item out of there yet, so it was kind of like 50-50. Steal a key, get an item on the right side. Don't steal a key. I could go kill Lanmo and see if he's got the item, or you could do nothing. And I had some other things to do at that point, so it wasn't too crazy avoiding Pendant Desert for a little while longer, and in the end just worked out. Never had to go back to either of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good choice, like we were speculating, but really at that point you had just a few other actual dungeons that you could full complete, so it really would have made sense that were crystal dungeons, so it makes more sense to deal with them at that point, I believe. And that seems to be the call that you made.
Yeah, not just crystal dungeons, but crystal dungeons with lots of items is always nice too.
Yeah. I'm getting a little feedback. Sorry, guys. So any surprises from this seed? Anything that kind of was unexpected that you were like, oh, did not think that was where I was going to find?
I didn't think Cold Stare was going to give me the boots. That was a nice surprise. I had pretty much resigned to this being bootless after going for that long with no footwear. So that was nice. Always nice to be able to, even though it didn't lock anything, but it was nice to have that for Ganon's Tower. Nobody wants to do bootless Ganon's Tower. And speaking of Ganon's Tower, big key in chest number 1. Congrats to whoever guessed that.
Yeah, we had someone guess that, and also on top of that, the chest across the way was the key you needed to start the ascent. So
yeah, talk about a god tower.
Could not have had a more perfect setup. So we're just watching Synack now finishing off Turtle Rock, so he's going to grab his bow out of this. And is there any point where you felt like you were concerned that you might not be in the lead, or that you were feeling a little behind?
I mean, it's hard. It's like a default. Unless you play a seed absolutely perfectly, you're going to have that moment later in the seed where you're saying, boy, if I had done this, think of all the time I could have saved. So I was thinking about ice. Could have been in ice a lot earlier. Could have gone right after swamp, honestly. Had everything to get through ice at that point.
Yeah, as soon as you checked Sahasrara to pick up the fire rod, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
almost, yeah, but
Yeah, that would have been a pretty aggressive play, honestly, to do ice at that point. So I didn't feel like it was the right play, but it was certainly a play that my opponent could have done. And then, not only do you have means to get into Turtle Rock, now you've also got the boots. And if you did that way earlier than I did, you're running around with the boots. And I did a lot of overworld spots, bootsless, which, doesn't ever feel good. But it was kind of twisty and turny there. I felt like I was in a pretty good spot having ran into that mirror so early, because you could have gone a long time, and I don't know when Synack picked that up, but you could have gone a long time before picking up that mirror, since we already had Dark World access. So you really could have gone down a rabbit hole and never found that mirror, and basically full cleared the game minus the mid spots until you had to go look for the mirror.
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he may have actually been in there a little bit ahead of you.
Oh, okay. Even better then. I felt
and
like
he-
I was there early.
And he was also the first one to get into Swamp Palace for those mitts, but you almost immediately followed that up, so it was not a big difference there.
Yeah, well, then that felt like the big troll to me, at least the way I routed. That felt like the big troll. That it was certainly very easy, and in fact, a lot of ways I would have routed this seed. Honestly, if I didn't have the book, and I wasn't planning on going in desert, but if I didn't have the book, the only reason I flew it down there to check Agina was because I could check the desert ledge also, and it just so happened that paid off a lot in this seed. So. That sometimes rando comes down to blind luck, right? So that felt like the only tricky, not necessarily the only tricky part of the seed, but the only tricky part based on the way I had routed it.
Yeah, but as you were saying, like, when you have access to Swamp and it being such a high item density early on, it just feels like you're being pulled there, I would imagine.
Yeah, you maybe don't want to dive it immediately when there's other things that you can do. I basically decided I was going to go Thieves, all of the overworld, and basically end my route right outside Swamp. So you don't want to put it off for forever, hoping, I hope I don't have to do Pendant Swamp. Sometimes you just have to accept what the seed is telling you. But I didn't go in there right away. And, in this seed, you actually, I guess, could have gotten away with going in there right away because it was a big item like the mitts, which would have helped route everything else so much better.
Yeah, it was a seed. I feel like it could have gone either way. It could have been a 2-hour slog, and it would have been perfectly reasonable if you were really avoiding the pendant dungeons, or could have probably been, maybe about 10 minutes or so quicker than you did, reasonably. You made most of the calls that you made were fairly accurate, so it was a go either way type seed. So I think you probably must feel good about the time that you took on this particular run.
Yeah, this is for this seed. Like I said, a lot of time could have been lost with that mirror. A lot of time could have been lost avoiding Swamp for more time than I did, and a lot of time could have been lost jumping into more pendant dungeons than I needed to. This was a very easy seed to full clear all dungeons if you so happened to route it that way, and it would have been very reasonable. Not a mistake to have full cleared all the dungeons if that's what you did in this seed. So, especially getting boots so late, not a bad time. A very, very quick Ganon's Tower always helps with the finish time, but not too many complaints. I'm just glad I never actually made it to the pyramid or catfish, and I don't know when I would have got those in. If something had been there, if the bow was sitting on the pyramid this whole time, I would have felt pretty silly. But thankfully, not this time.
Was not in the cards today. You actually put on a real great show with the Ganon's Tower climb. Your gauntlet was pretty impressive. That Land Molus 2 one cycle was really fast. They were not even like a third of the way out of the dirt before you'd put an arrow in each of them. And then your Ganon fight was also really brisk.
A couple of hits from those fire bats, they got a little bit away from me. Sometimes you get a little lazy when you're so well equipped in the cannon fight, so It's always nice climbing the tower with boots, gold sword, a mail upgrade, silver arrows, a potion in your back pocket if you end up needing it. So you can kind of just go hog wild once you're in that situation, which is always nice. After a long seed and a couple things that could have trolled you and maybe a couple things that did troll you, you just get to take your aggression out and blast through the tower as fast as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. It looked like you were just everything was clicking together there. Even and we both made the comment, and I missed it unfortunately on the scroll past of your credits there, but your menuing as well was on point for a lot of this seed, and just particularly in the end, you were just flipping through things really fast. It's like you were in the zone, it seemed.
That's one of those things, menuing, that takes, people put a lot of work into that to get good at that. A lot of menuing, I got much better at menuing doing NMG runs where, losing a second on a menu when you're playing NMG feels unacceptable. And sometimes in rando, it's not necessarily your number one priority, but then again, you see, you're in a race and you watch the credit screens of your opponents and you say, wow, they had a 2:45 menu time and I had a 4.5 menu time. I got to get better at that because that's like half of a dungeon right there in menu time. So it's a motivation when you see other really top players put up amazing menu times and you say, that's probably worth my time getting better at that, huh?
Yeah, I must agree. My personal menu time's like 6 minutes, so on a good day. So something like in the 2 to 3 to 4 range would be just mind blowing.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's definitely not something that's you're just going to be good at it. It takes time familiarizing yourself with just the inventory layout until that becomes second nature, and then even just remembering what you have, and you remember how you menued something 5 minutes ago, so your brain kind of holds on to that, and you have to do the same menu again 5 minutes later, so that time you can kind of lock it in. So there's a lot of just like second nature menuing that just comes with experience and playing enough, and paying attention to it, I guess, as you play. But there's no shortcut to it. It's just, hey, once you've played 400 seeds, your menuing time is going to be better, whether you've really been focusing on it or not.
Yes, it was great. So it was an amazing run for considering the seed. We were all impressed. Chat was really getting with it. They were interacting the whole way along, talking about what you guys were going to find and how good some of the calls were. So they were enjoying it. We were enjoying it. Is there any final comments or things that you'd like to bring up regarding the tournament or how you see things playing out for you in the upcoming weeks?
I'm glad chat had fun. My last two rounds have been restreamed and they have been disastrous for me. Forgetting items and missing go mode for 50 minutes in one of my rounds. So this one, at least everything kind of came together and I didn't let chat down, didn't wreck the race 30 minutes in. So
yes, I believe you did go.
I did check the Mire shed this time. Thank goodness. You would think that once you do that once, you'd never do it again. That's the second time that I've actually done that with that location in a tournament race. Not this tournament, but one of these days it's just going to sink in. Hey, that's a spot I probably should check every time.
Yeah, but this time it wasn't going to be a problem. You did a fantastic job. Thanks for coming and having a chat with us. And we're just about 3/4 of the way through Palace of Darkness here with Synack, and then he's got Eastern Palace to go through before he makes his climb. So we're just going to watch him as he finishes out this seed.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for having me in. Thanks for the commentary. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for this tournament. I've seen it firsthand. I've done commentary. We got a lot of moving parts in the background. This race in particular was scheduled, maybe not even 10 hours ago. So a lot of people having to jump on it last minute. It's always appreciated because without everybody else behind the scenes, nobody would get to see any of this. So really appreciate the job you guys did as well.
Thank you for giving us a race to watch on Monday, because a lot of the times that's hard to get scheduled when you work it out with your opponent. So thanks for making the effort.
Yeah, I was in a hurry to get this one. Let's get one. Let's get a win back in the W column. I was in a hurry to see if that would happen, so I didn't want to sit on last week's loss too long. Okay, I'm 2-2. We're still alive. Just win out, and we'll see where things go from there. That's the plan.
Awesome. Well, good luck with the next week, and we'll be watching for you in the future.
Okay, thanks, guys.
So Synack now making his run at the Helmisar King. He's been progressing fairly quickly through the Palace of Darkness, though, where we were chatting with Buane.
Yep, fairly quick, and after this, just through Eastern at that point. And then up Ganon's Tower, which, you know, we know where the big key and the small key is going to be, so we won't be in there too long.
Yeah, I gotta believe he's gonna feel real good when he opens up that first chest, sees the big key, and is just like, oh, what a relief. I'm not gonna have to go on a long hunt through Ganon's Tower at this point, after a seed that's pulled him all over the place and given him some challenges with some of these boss fights. Ooh, making a risk.
Yeah, skipping the first chest.
Oh no, skipping the second is not the right
skipping
call.
the second, but yeah.
Oh, changed his mind. Maybe he heard us. Maybe he thought better of the entire prospect.
It is possible he thought maybe he'd already been in there too, because like usually you've checked Eastern Palace.
That is true. Maybe what he saw the big key chest being closed still, and thought, oh, wait a minute, I have not yet entered this area. Yeah, as soon as you go up a little bit on that screen to enter those doors, that's when you can see the big key chest. So I think maybe that's what clued him in.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what probably had it in his mind. It's like, oh wait, I haven't actually been in here. This is a go mode, and I didn't even dip in here to check for items, which doesn't happen too often.
Now, I must say it's typically one of the earlier, at least these front chests, including the dark room towards the vanilla big key chest, are usually done fairly early in many runs.
Yeah, I think the whole reason why it wasn't checked is just they had such early access to the Dark World. It's just like, we're just gonna go at this point.
Yeah, with all sorts of like fully completable dungeons, as opposed to this, which would have been, until they hit Turtle Rock, this was only a dip to be expected. So makes sense to bypass it at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
So Synack also puts on a show on how to take down our most knights really quickly.
Yep. And that's Crystal 7, so he'll be on his way up Death Mountain to Ganon's Tower now.
Quick chat, guess where's the big chest key? Oh my goodness, big key in Ganon's Tower. My mouth stopped working there, and I apologize for that. I'm guessing it's going to be in the first chest. I don't know what you guys think, but
Well, I'm going to guess the second chest, because maybe he checks the one on the right first.
all right. I think Synack did pick up a potion refill, so he may actually have a blue potion in his inventory at this time. Meanwhile, the boulders are giving him a heck of a time. There's the Paradox Cave that he forgot to check into. If at the end of the race he does elect to come have a chat with us, I'm definitely going to ask him if that was intentional or just kind of happened.
Yeah, it is strange, because it's like 5 chests are there. It's huge in an area that most runners are going to gamble on or forget about.
And he was there so early.
Yeah, and I think the worst part about it is the fact that, you know, there wasn't any major progression there, but there was a sword there, and that would have helped him out a lot with a lot of the boss fights.
Yeah, absolutely. He had the fighter sword for so many of them on those attempts, and it just was not in the cards for him at that time.
Uh-oh.
Oh! Did you see that pause by the door? Oh, I thought he
Yeah.
thought maybe he made... Yep, he did realize, oh, no, I need a key.
Okay, at least he remembered and didn't start climbing up and gambling that there's a key up there.
Fortunately, there's definitely one right in here at this this skull, so that's going to get him going.
Okay, now we're up the tower.
I have made that mistake in my own personal play, where I didn't have enough keys while heading up the tower and thought, oh, I have to go back down now. Well, unfortunately, he did use the potion he picked up earlier. And those mimics just would not cooperate with him.
Yeah, sometimes those mimics just don't like playing nice.
It's a much nicer run through that spike trap room there. And this time the mimics go down after being carefully positioned.
Yep, and those mimics go down quickly as well, so he's on his way further up.
Oh, gets an excellent trap on the spikes there to make sure he doesn't take any damage.
Yep, being very mindful of his hearts right now. Doesn't want to take any needless damage. Probably will opt to go in the fairy room at this point to be safe.
Yep, I'm not surprised to see this. It's just a quick bonk there and back.
And the great thing to note about that bonk is if that did not actually exist in the game, then bonk jumps would actually be sequence breaks.
Yes, this is what tells us that it was intentional from the designer's standpoint. for you to use bonks to cross gaps.
It has a nice Stelphos room.
Oh, and even a very nice second room too.
Yeah, that room can get away from you, especially if one of them wants to run right through the middle on those spikes.
Yeah, I've taken to using the fire rod to try to speed that up, but these ice rooms also can be a pain.
Yep, and we're going to be off to the land mode too. Right, down goes one of them. There's two, so we just got the one left.
And there it goes. Now for our arcane rooms. Oh, slips a little bit there.
There he goes, though. Gets the kill.
That counts as one cycle. Oof. Trolled by the spike there, which intercepted one of his shots from the cane.
Yep, Spike's not playing games.
With half magic, it's fairly safe to make use of the fire rod here, just to make this a little bit safer, a little bit faster and more secure.
And picks up the little magic refill. Just gonna opt to skip the full magic, run right upstairs.
It's actually one less menu check because you're going to be using the fire rod in that screen, so more efficient.
Yep, and he's not checking for anything at this point.
Gonna refill his magic here. And head down to Moldorm 2. Nice finish there, the little backwards jump. Put himself in the correct spin position. Very nice.
And he will also take Trollorn's Big 20.
I do believe that's one of the most aggravating rooms in the tower. There's nothing left except for running up to Aghanim's area, but all of those Helmosaurs and the ice combined with the conveyor belts, until you kind of have the pattern that you want to use to quickly boots up that area, can be just very aggravating being so close. And look at this, pulls out the bug net, maximum swag to finish off Aga 2.
Yep, he's a winner in my eyes now.
Went for the sure thing triple, but definitely using the bug net.
Yeah, I don't blame him for using the sword at that when you get a perfect setup like that, because they're desynced enough to where you're going to be able to get a triple on it. But he's just got to take down Ganon himself now.
I'm interested to see if he might pop around the corner here to hit that tree. Yeah, it looks like he's going to go dash into the tree below here to grab a fairy just to replenish those hearts. There it is. a few seconds there just to guarantee that you have a little bit more health for the Ganon fight.
Alright, and Synack has to hit Ganon 12 times each in phase 1 and 2, instead of the 6 times that Buane had to with the Butter Sword. The rest of it's going to stay the same, though.
We got a couple of spins in there, which reduce that number a little bit. And making use of the invulnerability frames you get when using the hook shot there to avoid those fire bats. Close. Oh, still takes 1. But he's progressed to phase 4. Or phase 3, I suppose this is.
Yep, I'm going to get a bunch of teleports here.
Now Ganon did have slightly awkward positioning in the start of this final phase. Turns out that Buane was able to handle them very well. Synack doesn't get the torch glitch, which is going to slow things down a little bit, but he has half magic, so he's in a perfectly good spot to deal with these.
Yeah, not as important when you have half magic. And silvers as well.
Got that other... He was almost tempted to go to underneath Ganon there to try for a double. Oh no! Fire bats on the last push. Oh, he has a flute.
Okay, he's
fairy.
got a fairy.
He picked that up along the way. I didn't even notice. Good call for him.
Ganon thought he had him, and Synack just said no, not this time.
All right, and Synack enters the Triforce room and finishes the race with a Speed Racing TV official time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 54 seconds. So if we'll take a look and see if Synack is feeling like he'd like to join us for a little chat about how the seed went. He's down in ready to join our channel, so I'll pull him on up and we'll see his thoughts on this particular race. GG and hello, sir. How do you feel about that seed and this particular race?
So it was a fun seed. Not to replay everything, but I thought I was doing well until about halfway through, and then my play just started to fall apart on me.
Yeah, you did have some amazing calls early on that got you some key items very quickly. The decision to check out Agina's Cave, picking up the mirror very early, that was excellent for you. As well, that led you to the very early Swamp Palace play for the Titan's Mitts.
It's like 6 chests. I had all the items. Seed felt like it was sending me that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a great move. Kind of unfortunate that the progression was the far left, like the last chest on the left side, but definitely was the right call to make. And then I guess it was you had a little bit of a hiccup there with the blind fight early on, and several other boss fights seemed to give you some troubles. Is there any particular reason why you feel that happened, or just...
Dying to blind kind of threw me off at that point. Because then you get in that mode of feeling, all right, now I'm behind, and then you start making bad plays, and then you charge into mire without a fire source, things like that.
Yeah, you were. It did feel like you were kind of... Well, I'm not finishing this one, so I'm going to just go to the next one on the list. Is that kind of what was going through your mind? Just got to find somewhere to be successful, or...
Yeah, exactly. Because I felt like I was ahead after I grabbed those mitts, but then I wasted a lot of time doing some other things, and
Well, this leads me to my next question. I'm not sure if you even realize what happened. You were on Fighter Sword for an awfully long time, fairly early on, and then after that, Master Sword for a very significant amount of time. When you went up Death Mountain, were you? What happened with the Paradox Cave there?
What do you mean?
Did you check every chest in Paradox Cave? Because there was a sword there.
Did I? Did I forget I forgot a chest, didn't I?
You did forget one chest, at least one, in Paradox Cave. I was just waiting for you to feel it, and that would have provided you. Yeah, you missed all 5 in Paradox. You did the first 2, and then didn't. And then just bomb jumped out, or went up the mountain.
Oh, wow! What? I'm glad there was nothing important there, except for the sword.
Yeah, that was where you would have been able to get access to Master fairly early on, which would have given you at least a little bit faster time through Argus and dealing with some of the mobs in the dungeon, so you might have had a little bit more health while you were facing some of those bosses.
Yeah.
And then the chest game would have given you Tempered Sword. But yeah, it just seemed to be like we were watching you going through it, and we turned away for a moment to see what Buane was up to. We came back and just were like, oh, wait a minute. You don't have the Master Sword yet. Something has happened. And yeah, we were just wondering if that was just a total slip of your mind there, it seems.
I spaced it off.
Oh, well, there's a mistake that you can learn something from. Don't forget to check Paradox Cave, yes?
That's the theme of this entire tournament for me.
Oh. So that's kind of, that puts you at a disadvantage in a lot of those boss fights, but you still, like a champ, persevered, went in and out, grabbed potions when you needed them, faced them again. Was there any other point where you felt like you might have been pulling back or getting an edge again, or did you feel behind after that moment?
I felt pretty behind at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was just waiting for Buane to dot done. Or the SRTV equivalent.
Yeah, it was the thing about it was you were making a lot of very good calls, and a lot of your choices were the right choices to make. It's just that final little bit of execution seemed to elude you. And we were thinking that it was just that one set of chests would have perhaps put you in a more comfortable position. It's always kind of like when you have Tempered Sword, the game just feels a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you didn't pick yours up until you went back towards Eastern Palace and picked up the fire rod from Saharshala's hut.
Yeah, and then I turned in that pendant, and then I felt a lot better then, but I knew I was quite behind just fighting the fire rod there. Because I knew he probably went and got it a lot earlier than me.
Well, actually, you guys were fairly, I mean, logically in the order of the way you did things, it was about the same timing. Eastern and Pod were really kind of keeping you at bay because you kept getting breadcrumbs to go to other places up until the point where you needed the fire rod to hit Ice Palace and then follow up with Turtle Rock. Finding the fire rod there, probably opening 2 dungeons or opening Ice Palace up for you, and then Ice Palace opening Turtle Rock just kind of naturally pulls you there. Same thing happened with your opponent, so you the choices seem to be right on par there.
Oh, I feel good about that at least.
Indeed. So that puts you at 1 and 3, still alive in the tournament if you are able to get a few more wins under your belt. Do you feel like your prospects will be improved as you progress through this tournament, or how are you feeling about your next matchup?
I will say I had no expectation to make it in the bracket. There's a lot of really great people in the Swiss round, and I'm kind of humbled to be able to play someone like Buane. And yeah, I'm just going to continue, play all 7, see how well I do.
Yeah, like you have run into some very difficult opponents, and your performance so far has been admirable, considering the GT Big Key being chest number 1. I thought that might feel like a relief.
Yeah.
First thing you open, you're like, woo!
Yeah.
And then started going up the tower and caught yourself just before you entered the doorway and said, "Oh, I'm gonna need a key."
I've been burned by that so many times that now I kind of make a habit to look at my key count before going up.
Yeah, and then we had those mimics just misbehaving on you, wouldn't line up properly. Again, just not having the potion anymore because you had to use the one red potion you'd purchased earlier. Left you a little high and dry at that initial fight or that initial climb through the tower, but fortunately, it's a quick turnaround, and you made excellent progress from then on out.
I felt, except for that death, I felt my tower climb was pretty good.
Yeah, your gauntlet
relatively.
was really quick. Landmolus was, you missed the one cycle with the bow, but just transitioning over to using your sword was excellent choice, and you cleared that out really, really quickly. Your Trolldorm fight was excellent. You did that nice backwards hop down to get the spin right off the bat. It was awesome.
What'd you guys think about my failed attempt at Swagnet?
Oh, the chat got hyped, and we noticed what you were doing. Yeah, I mean, you hit him a couple of times, so it wasn't a failed attempt. I mean, very few people are willing to risk the Swagnet.
Yeah, it's like I started getting low on health, and like they lined up, and I finished him off. I kind of wanted to maybe hit the Swagnet one more time, but I didn't want to risk it at that point.
Yeah, all three of the images were like sitting right on top of one another, and it's just too juicy a target to give up. So you went for that triple at the end. It was awesome. And then Ganon, I must admit, we both didn't see you pick up that fairy. And so we saw you die on that last, like, right before your last arrow shot on Ganon. We were like, oh no, like, of all things. But fortunately, fairy revival. Ganon thought he had you, but you put him down after that. So excellent finish on the race.
Yeah, thank you.
And it was a lot of fun casting. We had a great time. Thanks for putting on a good show. Good luck and congratulations on your performance so far. Good luck on the next rounds. Is there any kind of shout outs or comments that you'd like to make before we sign off from this particular race?
I just like to shout out the tournament administrators. They've been really great so far, and it's kind of a role that it's kind of behind the scenes. You never really see it as a spectator, but without them, they're the glue that keep all this together. And allow us to run a 500+ person tournament. So yes, all the admins out there.
Yes, absolutely. They are the unsung heroes. Fans watching, the work that they put in order to make something like this happen is fantastic. So I'm gonna also convey that same sentiment. Thank you for giving them the props that they deserve, and good luck in the future. And we hope that you have some more fun playing some more interesting people during the rest of this matchup, rest of your matchups.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So have a great night. I have been Crowzone80, and I've been joined by my casting partner here, Sir Linkalot. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to give the runners a follow. They've done. It's very stressful and difficult to perform like this on a restream, let alone in a race environment, and they are providing us with hours and hours of entertainment. So if you can give them a follow, I'm sure they'd greatly appreciate it. As well, I'd like to throw a shout out and a message for all of you to give Scary Olive, who was our tracker today, a follow as well. And my partner Sir Linkalot here, also give him some clicks if you haven't already. If you're not already following, I think that would be a nice thing to do. Sir Link, is there anything that you'd like to mention before we end off the night?
I'm just kind of the same as you. Shout out to everybody working behind the scenes. It's, not talking on the streams when we have them. Shout out to Scary Olive for keeping us on track with all the items. Thank you for co-commentating with us. Thank you for both Synack and Buane for putting on a good race for us to watch. And thanks everybody for being here to watch the race, because if you weren't here, we wouldn't be doing this anyways. So thank you.
Absolutely. So with that, there's a lot more races happening. If you want to schedule, there's probably some happening right now. I'm afraid I don't have it up, but there's always more Randomizer to watch. This week is going to be jam-packed. It looks like the next races are taking place on Speed Gaming 3, one following us immediately this race in just about a half an hour. There's also races going on Speed Gaming 4 and Speed Gaming, not Speed Gaming 1, but just Speed Gaming channel. So there's lots to watch. And coming up for the rest of the week, there'll be hundreds more. So keep watching, keep throwing out love to all of the racers. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.